if your brain is anything like mine, but I tend to have a ton of things just swirling around in my brain all the time. And in order to get that chaos out of my head, I need to put it somewhere else. So I do this with every aspect of my life. You can actually see behind me my Kanban board that I use for organizing my to-do tasks and different things. Over here, you can kind of see like my long-term planning cork board that's up there. Totally revealing my office mess to you guys. But one arena that this happens to me in a lot, and by it I mean the brain mess, the chaos, is story planning, especially because I tend to build complex story worlds. I like to write novels or long serials with a lot of moving parts and a lot of world building pieces and multiple plot arcs, sometimes even multiple POVs happening at the same time, which means I need to track timelines of who's where when and all kinds of things. And that is a lot to hold in my head. I used to do all this on paper. I had notebooks. I had a lot of these kind of things that you see behind me. I would use this whiteboard behind me. And then, I would translate those notes to the computer and try to organize them in like a Word doc or a Google doc, occasionally even a Google spreadsheet. But up until a couple years ago, maybe a year ago, I really still hadn't found a process that consistently worked well for me for planning complex stories, especially if I'm talking about series with multiple books where I need to plan like an overarching plot arc and the timelines and plot lines for each individual story. So I'm not talking so much about tracking world building details, although this tool does work for that. But I want to share a tool that I discovered like a year ago that was like magic for my brain. And maybe it'll help some of you guys too. So this is called Plottr. Ignore my million tabs up at the top. You didn't see anything, just pretend it's not there. What I want to show you guys is how I use Plottr to plan stories. So I have a couple of things here that are kind of like secret projects that I haven't announced yet, so again, ignore those. But I'm going to go into the chapter outline for the serial I'm currently working on. So why this works so well for me is that it is a visual timeline program. You can use Plottr for a lot of different things. If you look up here at the top, you can see everything in outline form. So I can actually look at, my episode or chapter outlines, and I can export this to, a Word doc or other formats, even to Scrivener, I believe. You can also make notes on a story. You can keep character notes separately, and you can separate it by main characters and side characters and give them tags so that you can search them easily. You can do the same thing with places. You can create general tags for things in your story. But I want to just focus right now on the timeline feature because this is the thing that was truly revolutionary for me. You can create multiple plot lines and you can kind of line them up using whatever system you want to. So up at the top, I have mine divided by episodes. But then I'm also tracking the different timelines of the characters. So as I scroll further through the story, I kind of have like day 8 to 9, I have a timeline marker here. And if I scroll further, I have, important things that are happening in the other person's life or in the other person's timeline. So I can scroll through and I can have all my notes, and each of these boxes clicks and opens into more detail. The other cool thing is that if I change the scale of the view, at a glance I can see how my different POVs for this whole series that I'm building play out in the chapters and how the balance of those POVs falls. The other really cool thing that Plottr allows me to do, and that I've used it a lot for, is brainstorming a new story. I am a plotter or a planner if you haven't noticed it, but even if you are more of a pantser, you could probably use this just to kind of help you come up with ideas. Or you could use it in the editing and revision process to help you organize things. So I just want to show you that part real quick too. So this time I've gone back to the main dashboard because I just want to start from scratch to show you how I would brainstorm a new project. So I would create a new project. I'm just going to put this, test because I'm doing it just as an example. And then when it opens, it just kind of gives you this generic chapter main plot setup. Now you can add additional things here on the side. You can rename this to whatever you want it to be. So if you're organizing by character and you want to go through timeline of like, who's in what location at what time. I mean, you can set this up however you want to set it up. But one of the ways that I use it is I actually use their templates that are in here. So this is really cool. If you go into use template, they actually have preset plot templates that you can use. I just want to make a caveat to this before you guys come at me. I understand not everybody likes to go by a plot template and not everybody finds that helpful. I rarely stick exactly to whatever plot template I come up with, but for whatever reason, I like to put myself through the torment of actually fully plotting out a story using a plot template that I know fully well I'm just going to throw out and kind of wing things when I hit a certain point in the story. That's okay, it's my process and I've accepted that. But going through this process of actually planning with a plot template to start with helps me kind of get a feel for what my story is going to be doing and helps me brainstorm the different pieces that will be pivotal later, even if I end up kind of moving or shifting things around a little bit based on how the story feels once I actually get in there. So anyway, back to the brainstorming. Okay, so the way that I use this is I will choose the plot template that is closest to whatever I'm going to write. So for this example, I'm just going to choose Villain's Journey. I don't think I've ever actually written one of those, but this is just for an example. And then it populates the scene cards for the different parts of that plot structure right here on your screen. Now, when you open each of these, it gives a little summary of what that particular part means. So this is Ordinary World. And then it gives you the description. Introduce the readers to the villain in their ordinary world. Show something in the villain's world that displeases them. It also gives you an idea of pacing. So this is the beginning of Act 1, as it says here. It tells you that Act 1 makes up the first 25% of the story, and that the ordinary world brings the story to about the 10% mark. So then you have an idea of the pacing for this part that you're going to be planning out. And if you open each of these scene cards, they each have that same kind of setup. They explain to you what the beat means, and then the pacing. So this one occurs around the 10% mark. The refusal of the call would occur around the 15% mark, and so on. So the way that I use these plot templates is I go through and I just brainstorm things to fill in those places. And then I look at the pacing. So for example, this has it broken up into each beat being one chapter, but realistically, I know that if this beat is making up 10% of a story and I'm writing a 50K, 60K, 100K book, then it's going to be more than one chapter if it's 10% of the story. So then what I do is I go even smaller and I break each of those scene cards down into smaller pieces, and you can actually add your own, you can customize all of this. So you can add your own scene cards in between. So I fill in and kind of expand the beats and break them up into smaller beats until the flow of the story feels right to me. And then I have a tentative plot. Now, as I said, I use this as a brainstorming tool. Often when I actually go to write the story, things change, and that's okay. But for me, this is a really valuable way of brainstorming my story from the start, and then also organizing my story once I have my ideas set. I love that I can see everything at a glance visually. It works really well for my brain. So I just wanted to share this resource with you guys. This tool is called Plottr, and I'm going to put the link in the description of this video. I do want to say that I loved Plottr so much, and I've been using it for the last year. I decided that because I wanted to share this resource, I reached out to them and applied to be an affiliate. So I am going to post an affiliate link. So in full disclosure, if you purchase Plottr through the affiliate link, I do get a small commission for that. But the reality is I was going to make these videos anyway. I wanted to share this resource with you guys anyway, and I plan to do some future posts about Plottr and the way that I use it and some different ideas for using it as a tool. Again, this is a tool, so if it's not helpful for you, then just disregard this video. But if it does look like something that might be helpful for you, you can purchase it and try it out. I think they have a free trial that you can do, but the program itself is actually very affordable. It has been revolutionary for my brainstorming and brain clutter removal process, especially when I've been planning these massive story worlds like Layward Stones. And I've also been using it to plan out some slightly less intense story worlds that I hope to release, later in the year or next year. So It's a really cool tool. I just wanted to tell you guys about it. If you have any questions or comments, drop them here on the video, and thank you for watching.